Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm in a race with time. I put my life on the record, always giving it effort at night. I'm always restless, this music's a life sentence. Perfecting my craft in seconds, the essences of the earth. Used to make the world turn, people earn was not deserved. While the weak get knocked down, got people losing their health. This evil's making me mad, I hope I make my father proud. Devote my life to writing raps, I hope I'm on the right path. Spending years of my life that I could never take back. So nod your head to the beat, if you ever had a dream. And everybody else around you just never seemed to believe. That sound exactly like me, I was right in your position. So listen close what I'm saying, don't ever give up your visions on the real. I never saw people doubted I would make it this far, but I'm proving them wrong. Everybody criticized and they hated on me, but I just stay strong. And no matter what I heard them tell me, it didn't change my mind. I'm still pushing on, breaking hearts, hey, no. I'm in a race with time.
It's time for another episode of the Gridiron Podcast. It is episode 8. I'm Nick Shook. That's Sean Barry. And that is Katie Caldwell. Thank you for hopping in as always. You can find us live on YouTube and on Twitch. Join the conversation there. Be a part of the show. And if you don't show up for the live edition, you can always catch us on YouTube. You can replay it on Twitch. You can watch or listen to it on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon's platform. We're everywhere. Just come hang out here on the Gridiron Podcast, where we talk about football. That's the grid. Actually, that's not the grid. That's the iron. Well, that's the gridiron. And Formula One. Formula One's the grid. All right. I may have.
We're gonna take the hosting duties away from you for like a week, Nick.
That's the only part I blew. Okay, everything else I thought I did a decent job at. If we can want to toss over the explainer to one of you two, by all means, we can do that. But this is episode 8 of the Gridiron Podcast, and we have a fresh race to discuss, guys. Austria, the Red Bull Ring, a wet qualifying, a wet sprint shootout, a kind of wet sprint, and a dry race with everybody committing a penalty. Every rule in the book was broken when it came to track limits. So much that they had to assign penalties after the race. And the only time I've really seen that in such a large portion is when you're playing the video game. So this time around, a lot of excitement, a lot to recap. Folks, I'm excited to be here. How about you?
Very excited. Happy track limit season, everyone. We've got Oprah out here handing out 5-second penalties.
You get a 5-second penalty. You get a 5-second penalty. Everybody gets a 5-second penalty.
Esteban Ocon, you get 30 seconds in time.
Oh, I know. It was like 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. Esteban Ocon, 30 seconds. Like, ooh. You okay, buddy?
I loved all the content and memes and GIFs of vehicles just like way off the road and just saying like, this was Esteban's Grand Prix. Like, the content has been hilarious.
Somebody drew like a line around the track and they were like, this is how Ocon saw the track. And it was just like wide left, wide right, cutting corners, going outside. Here's the thing though, guys. And I want to bring this up to you right off the top because it was such a hot topic in Austria. This is a track that's fast. It's shorter. You're getting lap times near a minute. It's high speed, but it's also not forgiving. I mean, we saw that with all of the penalties, obviously more this year than a typical year, but especially that sector 3 just going off. I mean, because guys are going flat through, you hit the inside apex, you get outside. It's very easy to end up on the curb there. You go on, you're going flat down the hill again. You try to hit the apex on the inside. Then as you kind of slide out, you're going to end up being really close and flirting with it every single time around the track if you want to be fast. The only person that we saw that didn't really have much of an issue with that was, of course, our race winner, to the point where when he's going for the fastest lap on the final lap of the race, I'm watching him closely on fresh softs that are probably just barely up to temperature, and I'm thinking, he's got to go off. At some point, he's got to go off. Like, he's got to flirt with it. He comes through the final turn in sector 3, hits it perfectly. I mean, absolutely perfectly. Didn't even flirt with track limits, sets the fastest lap, takes one more point away from his teammate just to add a little icing on the cake. So I mean, what do you do? What do you change with this track? We might as well just get right into the hot topic from the entire race. How do you, prevent more track limits violations? It used to be Bahrain, and they were like, all right, you can't go wide on this corner. I think it was like turn 6 or 7 in sector 1. This is different. This is a huge issue.
I'm fine with the way, like, what do you mean? What do you change about the track? The track is fine the way it is. this is the first time we're really getting to see these cars necessarily on this track. Yeah, we raced there last year, but when you think about it, everything was new last year. Everything was still in its feeling out phase. Now these cars have been developed more. The tracks aren't specifically made for these types of Formula One cars. I'm fine with it. It added extra intrigue. It added extra drama. How else are we going to get our kicks this season when Max is winning every race by 20 seconds and going for fastest lap, even when his team's like, nah, let's not do that. He's like, nope, damn it, we're going to do it. I'm fine with this. It added just a little bit of extra spice on top, just a little bit of bam, Emerald Lagasse at the end of the race.
Well, I mean, okay, so the Emerald Lagasse. That's great, Sean. Thank you. Next, you're going to do Guy Fieri. He's going to show up with spiked blonde hair. He's really going to be living up to what, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch right now, you'll see is Sean Barry, Florida man, because that is exactly Florida who man. Sean is.
I am Florida man. I am Florida man. I am Florida man.
Yep, that's right. That's you, Sean.
My new favorite drop.
I'm just glad we can use drops. But thank you for that, Sean.
Before we came on the pod, I didn't realize that was a drop. And it kept repeating. And I'm looking at Sean like, obviously his screen is frozen, but like, also, Sean, I get it. You're a Florida man.
I'm not that proud about the state I live in. Relax.
Are you sure?
I don't even wrangle gators much.
Not yet.
Not yet. I've been here 5 years, and I've seen many a gators. Not one crocodile. I haven't seen a crocodile yet. But I've seen all the wildlife there is too in Florida.
My friend.
Yes. We got plenty of time.
There's a lot of opportunities there. The reason I brought that up, though, guys, is because I saw it floated out there. I think it might have been Toto who even talked about it. He was basically saying, what do we do? Put sausage curbs up there that actually are going to affect you and make you go off the track harder and damage the car and the floor potentially to prevent them from doing that? Because like at that point, you have to consider lifting off the throttle, off the accelerator to get through there without hitting those curbs. But that seems a bit excessive because that track, a lot of why it's fun is because they're flying around it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just hoping for the rule. NFL overtime is not fair. We need to change the rules.
You just said the track is so fast, it's shorter, lap times are quick, and you also have lap times that are really close to one another. 1 through 20, you don't have these giant gaps like you have on other tracks. That's what makes Austria so fun. It's one of my favorite tracks on the calendar every year. Something crazy happens there. We had 2 wet days. We have a dry day, but then we have track limits. I like Austria, and I like the kind of craziness that it provides.
I love
I've
the
heard
track.
a bad word about Austria. Yeah.
I love the track, but the track limits were just so chaotic. And you're right, Sean, it does add a little bit of spice to it. But I feel like, I don't know, maybe up it so you get like 15 before you're shown the flag. Because there were just I think on average it was like 16 times per lap or something I was reading. Like it's so stupid how much it was happening. But it makes sense why it is. Like, I don't know if there's necessarily a perfect answer. I love that track, but especially the race ends and then the podium celebrations happen. And then all of a sudden you check Twitter and it's like, this is where people actually finished. And it was wild seeing the differences in it. Like, it feels like it's something that they're going to have to change. Like, they didn't even have, the driver's meeting after... They didn't even hold it because they're like, we just don't want to deal with them bitching about this.
Yeah, we need the time to figure it out. We have to go watch the tape, guys. Sorry. Yeah. Get on the trailers. Get out of here.
They're straight up just like, nope, doors closed, or just everybody go home, press on. Like, they didn't even want to address it because they knew exactly what that meeting was all going to be about. So I think there's something they're going to have to do, but like, you're right. It does keep it pretty interesting. It's a bit of a mess.
My favorite part of it all was afterwards, you had Lando Norris going on Sky Sports, and they were saying, Lando, you were kind of providing commentary on basically everyone that went off in front of you because he did the entire race. He would just call on his radio, hey, this person went off, and mostly it was Lewis Hamilton. Lewis went off again, went off turn 5, went off he over and over again was basically snitching on the entire field, which, I mean, hey, snitches do get stitches, but at the end of the day, these drivers want to do anything they can to get a leg up on someone. So I don't necessarily blame him for that because everyone was doing it. Lewis was doing it. He was doing it so much that Toto Wolff got on the radio and said, Lewis, we know the car is bad. Just drive it. We've never seen that kind of tension between Toto and Lewis. It's always this kumbaya, we love each other thing. Where Lewis goes, Toto goes, Mercedes follows. But clearly, I'm not going to say there's cracks in the armor, but it is interesting just to see Toto get fed up and be like, dude, just drive the effing car.
Well, that's the thing, too, is it wasn't just the track limits that he's like, has anybody else gotten their penalty yet? Why is it just me? He's also complaining about the car itself. I can't drive, understeer, can't brake. They're all faster out of the corners. He's like, yeah, we get it. Just finish the race. I'm tired of hearing you.
And somewhere all the mechanics and everybody in the factory are just crying because he's like, I know the car is bad. Like, he was just so blunt about it. Lando was so funny, though, because they were like, hey, just report whenever you see it. And he's like, he's going off the track everywhere all the time. I'm not just going to keep talking.
He goes like, turn 4, turn 6, turn 7, and turn 8.
And the funny thing was, after all that post-race drama, neither him nor Oscar Piastri had any extra added penalty seconds. So, yeah. I mean, they saw it, and I guess they were doing a good job staying between the lines. But yeah, it was a weird race, and it's going to be one that we kind of remember, especially as we head to Austria next year. But yeah.
That was Spielberg, home of the snitches. Everybody snitching on each other in that race. Maybe except for Max, because he didn't have anybody in front of him for most of the race. Sean, you got to feel good as a McLaren fan. Those improvements, those upgrades, man, that car looking, I mean, obviously Lando drove his tail off, but that car is looking good, man.
He has no words.
He's not going to jinx it?
Sorry, no, my AirPods cut out there for a second. What were you saying?
Technical
difficulties, guys.
I was giving your team some love. He's looking around like,
He's
I was just like, hitting like, oh, what's happening? What's happening? Please,
that's staying in.
Don't toss to me. Don't toss to me. This might happen a couple of times tonight. I'm on some faulty equipment. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was talking about McLaren's car. The upgrades, they look good. Lando drove really well, but the car looks much better.
The car does look a lot better. They said their first real big upgrade package. They're bringing another one to Silverstone, so watch out. Can I? I know. Can I get into my predictions, because like they weren't the best, but I did put Lando on the podium, and he wasn't far off, finishing 4th. So I mean, while yes, 2 of my 3 podium finishers weren't on there, I still feel like I should get some credit, because my bold prediction was Lando would be on the podium, and he was not far off. Was not far off.
I was thinking of that as I was watching it. And then there was a big window where he was sitting in P3, and I'm like, no way Sean's going to pull this off.
I was the entire time, I'm just like, he's not going to do it. I know he's not going to do it. I don't have that much luck.
I'm not going to get my hope. You're like me when I watch Cleveland sports. I'm like, they're not going to do it. There's no way they hold on. There's no way they win this. They're going to lose.
Still finishing P5. You're like, all right, I was close enough. I was close enough for a car that has not done that on merit at all this year. And then he gets bumped up 1 place because Carlos got 10 seconds at time afterwards.
My favorite thing about that was Lando being told he was driver of the day, and he was like, oh, nice. That's great. Must have been a lot of fans of Papaya here, because they're obviously all spraying orange for Max.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Very cheeky.
I do have to admit that the car, maybe not Piastri, but the McLaren, it was punchier this weekend. Maybe it was the track type, but you saw Lando going toe to toe with the Ferraris and the Mercedes. He was getting his elbows out there, which was fun to watch, especially if you're a McLaren fan like me.
You know what else is gonna be fun to watch, Sean? How that car looks. But we'll get to that in a second, because first we got to do podium predictions. Let's recap that real quick. Katie, can you dive in and tell us if we hit it or if we missed?
Let me look here. So I had Max, Charles, and George Russell. Missed
got
the
2 of 3.
George, but I got the first 2. I feel like Max doesn't even count, but no. Charles, I felt good about getting that one.
Yeah.
And my bold prediction was that Ferrari doesn't fuck anything up for once, and that covers both strategy and reliability.
Well, now, I mean, they didn't. They finished 2nd and 4th. They didn't. Yeah. They had a great weekend, but Carlos kind of effed up. So Do we give this one to Katie, Nick?
I was going to ask you guys because I wanted to take it, but I'd rather be honest about it.
Because I know you meant the team, like the garage.
I did, yeah.
The pit wall, the pit lane. We'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that one. So you had a good weekend, Katie. You had a good weekend. Give yourself a pat on the back.
Carlos, by the way, Spain's new Minister of Defense.
Yes,
like his battles with Checo were unbelievable.
Checo, he big brain Checo for 2 of the 3 laps that they battled.
Yeah, he did.
Checo did. It's not that Checo doesn't understand DRS, but he just doesn't have as quite of a firm grip on it as a guy like Max, for example, going in toward the detection zone, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get ahead. Up now, I lost DRS. Up now, I lose my lead." Like they were roasting him on the broadcast. I can't believe he took him 3 times to figure that out. That's kind of embarrassing. I expected better from him, but you know what, Katie, I'm gonna give you the point on this. Because I got a bone to pick on behalf of Carlos. I would venture to say that he had a better performance in the same car as Charles did.
I agree.
And they did not let him battle Charles. They told him straight up, do not fight him. Yep. And he was on him, and he could have gotten around him, and his team said no, and he paid the price for it. And I think that's unfair. And I think Katie nailed her prediction because it's not her fault that they wouldn't let him battle his teammates.
I was thinking that as I was watching it, Carlos was saying, I have the pace, let me go. And he did. It just felt like he so clearly did. This was one of my favorite Carlos races in a long time. He hasn't been very memorable for me yet this season. This one was for me.
No, yeah.
All right, we got a lot of participants in the chat here. We have a bunch of people watching tonight, so welcome aboard to everybody.
Hi, friends.
First, when we were talking about Florida, we got a little Florida is rough from Club Fantasy FFL, so thank you for tuning in as well. And yes, Sean, you can.
What we like about it, Club Fantasy FFL.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah,
it's rough.
Put some hair on the chest.
Jesus.
We don't rub some dirt on it. We rub some sand on it.
We also have some greetings from some other viewers. My guy Madden says, good evening. We say good evening to you as well. And thank you for tuning in. Chris as well says, what's going on? What's going on is we are recapping that race in Austria right now. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Even if you're not big F1 fans and you are just football fans, we'll get to that later. So stick around for that because we got a whole division preview coming, but more on the track. Oh, we also have this from Madden real quick. He says, please tell me we're going to talk about Slam Ball coming back this week. Well, stick around for Hater to Love It at the end. You might just get that covered. But
that
we
got
to
stick
stick back
call
to
a tease in the biz.
That's a tease. Yes.
That's
coming up
showbiz,
next,
baby.
Coming up at 11, even though it's past 11 on the East Coast here. More podium predictions. Katie, how did Sean do?
So Sean, yours, what? Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris. Lando, and then bold prediction was what? Lando on a podium isn't bold enough for you, which I love. Pretty bold. Lewis, no, Lando, like he was up there. Max, like I said, I don't even want to give any of us a point for that. It just feels unfair. But all around, like pretty good.
I don't want to give too much credit or put too much more faith in this Mercedes team because they continue to like dominate one weekend and then they like just fall way back. I'm just like, what are they doing? I can't put my trust in them week in and week out like I can with some other teams. And for a while that was Fernando, and now even he has fallen back a little bit. It seems like everyone has caught up to them just a little bit there at Aston Martin. So I'll give myself half credit on it. I'm not too mad about how the weekend played out, mostly because Lando finished top 4. And then Katie, or no, I should say Nick. I mean, you had Max Verstappen. Hey, we all guessed the winner correctly. Who would have thought?
Look at that.
Look at us.
Wheel experts right here.
Nick had Max, then Lewis, then Fernando. So we got one of 3. And then his bold prediction was spot on. Checo struggles in the rain, failing to reach Q3 once again.
No. He called an audible on the podcast.
I nailed both.
You did nail. Okay, I wasn't done reading, but thank you. Yes. Checo did struggle in the rain. He got his lap time deleted in Q2, so he didn't get to Q3. Count. Why doesn't that count?
Because he called an audible and he said, "No, actually, I'm changing it."
Katie, don't you like double cheeseburgers? Come on,
it's just man. I'm letting Nick double dip here. That's fine. And then he said Haas makes it into Q3 for 2 races in a row, which they did. So I mean, kudos to Nick. Katie got 2 podium places right, but Nick got 2 bold predictions right.
Okay, fine. I respect it.
It's a tie.
I'm still fighting it a little bit. I don't know if it should count, but I will allow it.
We have one more comment, and Sean, I had this answer in my head, but I forget because you changed cars a while ago. But despite the fact that you're wearing a Mercedes hat, Big B wants to know, what's your everyday car?
It's it's not a McLaren or a Mercedes. As the great late Mac Miller once said, I ain't got a Benz, I got just a Honda.
There you go.
Great.
There's your answer, Big B. Welcome to the show.
It's a Honda
Appreciate you
Accord.
watching.
I didn't know I didn't know what either of you drove until this. That's a funny thing about friendship, not living in the same place.
Yeah.
Nick, what do you drive?
I'd like you to guess, but I don't think you're going to get it.
No, I never would.
I drive a Toyota Tacoma. What about you, Katie, since we're on the topic?
I drive a Volkswagen Taos. It's like a little SUV.
I thought it was going to be a polar bear or a moose.
I like the Canadian
Just in the
accent.
springtime.
A moose.
A moose. Yeah, we
Katie
ride around
just
on
rolling
meese.
up on a moose. All right, let's move on to the next topic that we teased there a minute ago. Welcome to Livery Land. This is where we check out the new paint schemes, and we got 2 new ones coming up for Silverstone. Do we lead with the better of the 2, Sean? I mean, you're a little biased here, but we're going to stick with it anyway.
I mean, let's put the silver in Silverstone, Nick, because the chrome is back for McLaren. I think it's clean. I think it's mean. I love how they actually put the word chrome on the side of the car because Google is their sponsor. Yeah, man, I like this livery. Are we putting up a picture of it?
Well, they have a video, and if I put a video up, they'll DMCA me, but I think I see one photo that has part of the car. Yeah, so no, never mind. I'm going to continue to search for it, but if you could describe it verbally.
It's basically from like the late 90s up until the early 20-aughts. McLaren had a silver chrome car with kind of these burnt orange, red accents around it. They won 3 world titles with that paint scheme. And if you are a millennial, and you grew up watching F1, that is the car you saw dominate next to the Ferraris. That is the car you saw Mika Häkkinen win 2 world titles in. That's the car you saw Lewis Hamilton win his first world title in. And they did a good job of kind of recreating it, but keeping to their current color scheme of the papaya orange. They didn't bring back the burnt red. Lando Norris has always said, that was his favorite color, McLaren. He always loved those late 90s Mika Häkkinen, early 2010s Lewis Hamilton cars. And so it's kind of cool to see him driving this. I'm open about this. I hate McLaren's current paint scheme. I hate the light blue and I don't like it. I love this so much more. This is the second one-off livery McLaren has come with this year, and it's still better than their, normal day-to-day paint job. I say keep this. This is clean, man. This
I do too. Good. Let's ditch the blue. The golf thing was cool, but this is better. This is better. This blends the past and the present. It gives you an air of when they were good, like you said. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
In the words of the wise prophet Paris Hilton, that's hot.
You never know what Katie's going to bring to the podcast, folks.
Do it in her voice.
That's hot.
You can probably get sued for that. But that's okay.
Yeah, please put her name. Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's go to the other one here real quick. If I can find it. Williams also revealing a new livery for Silverstone because that is what is considered to be their home race, correct?
Correct. And it's their 800th Grand Prix as a team. So that's kind of what they're celebrating. It's cool that it falls on Silverstone as well. I'm starting to like Silverstone more because it seems like that's like the birthplace of the sport. Not necessarily Monaco, but this is a British sport. 7 of the 10 teams are headquartered in England. So it's kind of cool to see, the fans that live in and around where these teams are located, just kind of celebrate them. And Williams kind of encapsulated that with probably the most recognizable flag in the world, the Union Jack on the back half of their car.
That's clean.
I like it. I do. It's cool. It is cool. It's sad that it's going to be on like the last place car, but it looks.
Whoa!
It looks great.
Sean,
I mean,
getting a little ahead of your predictions.
What? No, you don't believe Albon's gonna?
What? No. We'll get to my predictions in a minute, Nick. I don't want to give too much away, but no, I think it looks clean. Don't you? They got kind of the white walled tires too. It's awesome.
Last place car. I take offense. He's been driving his tail off.
That looks so good.
It does.
It does.
It really does. Let's keep that one too.
I bet you a lot of teams are probably like, damn it, I wish we would have thought of that. Like Aston Martin, Mercedes, like, damn it, we should have put the Union Jack. We could do that. I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah. I wonder what they had to go through to get that. Like, we're not going to include the red. It's just going to be white. Just let it slide. We have some flattery here for Sean, who, by the way, when he started his new job in Tampa, his welcome message was welcome pipes. And I saw it and I said, are they talking about your arms? Like, you got some muscle, but I don't know if it's worth being called pipes. And he goes, no, dude, they're talking about my voice. So we have this here from Sing for the Day. My buddy Chris, and Around the NFL podcast listener, says, I wish my voice was half as cool and deep as Sean's, laughing my ass off. And we all do. We all do. Sean didn't even do anything to get that voice. That's just
no. And the funny thing is, I just came out of the womb talking like this. Goo goo gaga. Let's go.
I'm glad Katie's never heard that joke before. That was a genuine reaction.
I've repeated it so many times.
He also had a request saying,
"No one got me."
I'm gonna need Sean to do my voicemail message.
Ever since I was a little boy, I either figured you get busy talking or you get busy dying.
All right, we've moved on from the liveries. We talked about the Toto and Lewis thing, so we'll move past that. You said you like Silverstone, Sean, right? So let's scout it, huh? What do we got on deck here this weekend?
What do we got on deck? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
what do you mean? What do we got on deck?
What do you want to talk about?
What I heard was the weather might be a little sketchy.
It's England. That's all it does there. It rains.
We go live to our meteorologist in Canada, Katie Caldwell.
Okay, so we are looking at a dry practice Friday, and it is not a sprint weekend, so we are back to FP1, FP2 on Friday. Saturday, it's getting a little spicy, a little bit of rain in the air, a little bit of wind, potentially some thunderstorms. And then Sunday, we could be in for a wet race. Wet quali, wet race, a little mixed conditions. I think it's going to be a 10. And Silverstone is my favorite race of the year. So I am like the most excited I could be.
Is it your favorite? It's your favorite? It's your favorite?
It's my favorite track.
Favorite track.
Yeah. I just think it produces a banger like most of the time. Like I'm in the process of watching a bunch of old races back. And I've talked about this before, but every race week I go back and I watch the race from the year before at that track. And I'm like still pretty nervous to go back and watch this one. Like, I know that we've all seen the Zhou crash, especially on Drive Survive, like again and again and again. I think it made into like 5 episodes.
It's like, oh, let me watch that again.
But I haven't watched the full race again. And I'm nervous to do it because I just remember watching it live and like that anxiety that everybody was feeling before we knew he was out of the car.
We've had a couple of really good races in a row at Silverstone. Going back to that 2021 race, the 2020 race as well was really good. Yeah, Silverstone's been a really good track. It always is. My personal favorite is Coda. I like Austin. I think that's the best track on the calendar because it also produces a great. It's awesome. What do you say we get into some predictions though?
Yeah.
Let's do it. And by the way, another compliment for you, Sean. This one from Madden. He says, nice Shawshank reference, Sean.
Thank you. I try to bring the pop references in whenever I can, even if no one, you know what, that was actually one of my, I had a annual critique at work. And one of the critiques was, you're a funny guy, but try not to make the jokes too like in depth so people don't have to think too hard. Like, but that's part of the fun because like only like 10 people are gonna understand what I said, and then you'll be like, aha, I get that.
Aha,
that was for us. That joke was for us.
Shawshank Redemption.
It's funny because it's true.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna be selfish and go with my predictions here first. I'm saying on the top step, copy, paste, repeat, Max Verstappen. Number 2, I think Checo Perez finally has a good weekend, and we can put all this nonsense about he can't get into Q3 anymore. He's not on the podium anymore, even though he finished on the podium in Austria behind us. So I'm going Red Bull 1-2. And then I think this is the return of Fernando Alonso. I think things are going to kind of go back to normal a little bit here. So I'm putting Fernando on the third step. My bold prediction, though, Nick, can you cue up an eagle screech sound for me?
No.
Do we get an eagle screech? Do we get any kind of big John Philip Sousa band? Logan Sargent, the American, is going to score his first points in F1.
USA.
A couple weeks ago on the Beyond the Grid podcast with Tom Clarkson, he was asked, which race will we really see him shine? Where will we see this Williams car shine? And Logan Sargent, without hesitation, said, it's going to be Silverstone. We're bringing upgrades for Silverstone. I know the track at Silverstone. I think we're going to be very good at Silverstone, meaning the Williams car in general. So I am saying, Nick, don't type out your prediction now. I can see you typing your prediction. It should have been in there hours ago.
Why do you have the doc up?
Yeah, I'm outing you. Yeah, I'm outing you to our
look at Katie when you're talking. I'm just kidding.
A little peek behind the curtain here, folks.
Yeah. Inside baseball.
So I think Logan Sargent is going to find his way into finishing in the points. And I mean, he had a pretty good race in Austria. He was pretty decent. All things considered with how his season has gone, pretty down. But yeah, the American kid going to score some points. Let's go. What? USA. He won the F2 race there last year. So
no. Yeah. Well, yeah. Katie, what about you?
Okay. I'm going to start at P3. I changed it very last minute. I did have George Russell, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think Charles Leclerc, back-to-back weeks on the podium.
Ooh.
P2, Checo Perez. P1, my friends, Lewis Hamilton.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Bam.
Shoot or shoot. I mean, if there's we've heard it a million times. Max and Red Bull can't win every single race, can they? Well, it looks like maybe, yeah, they can. But if there's a track that it can happen, if there's a driver that can do it, I think it's going to be Lewis. And my bold prediction is it's Max's first DNF of the season. Brackets. This is me manifesting. Let me live.
Okay, but is it coming via racing incident?
I don't have to specify that. I don't know if it's going to be a racing incident or if I hadn't thought that.
You don't have
far.
To specify. It doesn't matter. She just said DNF.
I'm just saying his first DNF.
There are so many amendments in the Constitution of the United States. I can only choose one, and I choose fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth. That's Katie. She's pulling the Fifth Amendment right there.
But show Hamilton?
Sean. No, it's Chappelle's show. Come on, Sean. If you're out to make references that people get, you better know Chappelle's show.
I thought you were speaking in iambic pentameter. I thought that was Hamilton. Sorry.
Sorry
that I'm cultured, Nick.
I haven't heard that since music class in middle school. So thank you, Sean, for making me remember things that I forgot.
It did have to do with Hamilton, though. Lewis hasn't won a race in 577 days. Saudi Arabia in 2021. Although, in my heart of hearts, I believe it should actually be 570 days. And he should have 8 championships, but I digress.
We're never going to let that go.
I know, I never will.
No, we will
never going away. We're never letting that go.
I don't know how there's not like multiple documentaries on how like he was, robbed of an 8th world title. Anyway, we digress.
Well, Netflix has to catch up. Netflix has to catch up. My predictions are going to get a little off the wall, even though you can see them, Sean. First off, Max Verstappen wins. 6 in a row. There's just nobody better on the track right now on the grid. Best car, best driver. That's what we got. Coming in second, Sean, that chrome livery is going to deliver a podium with more upgrades. You get a track limits penalty. And McLaren gets back-to-back weeks of upgrades. And instead of P5, which was really P4, kind of actually the opposite, it's P2 for Lando Norris, baby. Let's go.
I was so hoping you were going to say Oscar Piastri.
No, I'm not that crazy. Come on. We have to operate in the realm of realism here.
I love it, actually. Some crazy things are going to happen, but I like it, Nick. Thank you.
And because I ride the Fernando Alonso train, even if Tainando never became a thing, Fernando comes in third. My bold prediction, however, I'm not going Checo because if you go back to the sprint race, what was it, last year or 2 years ago? Even then, he struggled at Silverstone. I don't have the confidence in him right now, even though he fought through the field to get a solid finish. in Austria last week. My bold prediction has nothing to do with him. George Russell, one of the favorite sons of England, doesn't make it to the end. I think we found in the past that if he finds himself in a little bit of traffic, it ends up being a little treacherous. And I'm just not very confident in that Mercedes right now. Quite frankly, this track is better suited for that than Austria was. But something tells me the strides that they made have not been nearly as significant in recent weeks. Don't have confidence in him or Lewis right now. Don't think they end up on the podium. And I don't think George sees the end of the race.
I'll tell you what, Nick, I do like the Lando to second place prediction just because if it is a wet weekend, Lando is very good in the wet. We saw what he could do in the wet in Austria. If there's wet qualifying, if it's a wet race, yeah, it might fit into him.
If they don't have to ask him for his tire change opinion.
Right. Yeah, let's not. All right, Nick, we don't need to bring that up. Why'd you got to say that? Why'd you got to bring up Sochi? God.
Well, they don't race there anymore, so why not?
Thankfully.
All right. That is going to do it for our F1 talk, which means, guys, it's time for what is arguably everybody's favorite segment of the show. It is one of the newest segments of the show. It is a segment that everybody has come to know as...
Even now?
That was great timing.
That was. We nailed that.
That was fantastic.
We didn't even practice
timing.
that.
Nick, would you like to know what we're quizzing you about today? By the way, if this is your first time watching, two of us get to quiz the third host, of which they know nothing about the topic that we are about to quiz them on. It's a guess game, but it does have to do with sports, even though last week I was kind of railroaded and it turned into like some weird Pennsylvania geography quiz, which, whatever, but we're going to stick to sports.
Railroaded.
Which, whatever.
Railroaded.
Whatever, I still got 2 of 4 right. I still did pretty dang good. Nick, because Wimbledon, and I said that right, Katie, right? Wimbledon?
Yes.
Well, I know a lot of people say like Wimbledon. It's like it's Wimbledon, D-O-N. Anyway,
Never
Wimbledon is going
Wimbledon
on.
in my entire life. Who are you?
Wimbledon.
What are people saying in Florida?
I don't. Lots of things. That's why like people don't come here anymore. Wimbledon, Nick, is going on over in jolly old England.
Florida man.
So we're gonna quiz you on tennis. Katie, you want to go first?
I want to keep hearing that drop first. Okay.
Aren't you glad that I have control of the buttons and not you?
I'm so happy. Okay, Nick, I'm going to start you off with a softball here. This one's easy. What is the nickname? First of all, do you even know? What is the nickname of the number 2 court at Wimbledon?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought this was an easy one. So the number 2 court at Wimbledon earned the nickname Graveyard of Champions because so many top-seeded players have been eliminated there by lower-ranked opponents.
Well, we're off to a terrible start here, folks. Judging by that exchange, we're going to go 0 for 3 here tonight. Let's move on to question 2.
He's not even trying. He's just like, I don't know. All right, Nick. Question number 2. Do you even know in what famous venue Billie Jean King beat Bobby Riggs?
I have to interrupt you because that sounded like some bro from the late 90s who wore a puka shell necklace and he's at a frat party. He's like, do you even know anyone here, bro?
Bro.
Do you want me
need like 3 brothers to get in?
Sorry. One second. Nick, do you even know?
There we go.
In what famous venue Billie Jean King beat Bobby Riggs in the first Battle of the Sexes? What was the name of that stadium and/or venue and/or arena called?
Oh, wasn't it in the Astrodome?
It was in the Astrodome.
Yeah!
Ding, ding,
Woo!
ding. We got
Woo!
one.
I got one.
He got one.
Well, great.
Hell yeah. Imagine filling the Astrodome to watch tennis. God. Yeah. All right. There we go. 1 for 2.
Matchup. Okay. Final one here, Nick. Do you even know? Gertrude Moran, a feminist icon, I shall add, shocked the world by wearing what article of clothing at Wimbledon in 1949?
She wore shorts.
No.
She wore a tank top.
No.
She didn't wear a skirt.
No.
I don't know.
It's even spicier than that.
Oh,
Gorgeous Gussie, her nickname, shocked the tennis world in 1949 when she wore lace-trimmed panties under her skirt at Wimbledon.
Oh!
Yeah.
Fellas who just came back from World War II, do we have a show for you this weekend in Wimbledon?
Ted Tinling, a former tennis player who designed the risque outfit, was accused of introducing sin and vulgarity into tennis. Things we love to see. Yeah, her lace panties were the front page news worldwide, and Wimbledon in 1949 is now one of the most talked about tennis events in history because of some lace panties.
Because of some pearl clutching. Oh, what will the children think?
Won't someone think of the children?
I'm not going to lie. I thought Katie froze on that one. Then now I'm understanding that I froze because Nick was still moving. So what did she wear? what? I missed the whole
technical difficulty.
I can't believe we have to go over this again. She was wearing lace-trimmed panties, Sean. They were risque and sexy and introduced sin and vulgarity into tennis. Now you're all caught up.
Hell yeah, that's the tennis I want to watch.
Hell yeah, bro.
Keep that stuff in the burlesque shows. This is a cultured sport. We play on lawn. This is lawn.
Showing her ankles.
God forbid.
Oh, what a hustle.
All right.
Knee.
All right, let's switch gears now, Nick. And we're running up on 45 minutes. So you think we can get the NFL talk done in a half hour?
Oh, absolutely. Let's do it.
I
Let's
think
roll,
we
baby.
can
Let's
do it.
roll.
All right, training camp preview. It's our third week of training camp previews where we do a division each week and we guess the over-under wins for each team in that division. 2 weeks ago, we got the NFC South. Last week, we were joined by Fox Sports correspondent Carmen Vitale, who broke down the NFC North. So if you haven't checked that out, go watch that. Go listen to that podcast. She was awesome. And this week, we are hitting up the NFC East to round up 3 of 4 NFC divisions. Who do you want to start with, guys? You want to start with the reigning champs?
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with the Philadelphia Eagles. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles. Funny story. I was doing Phillies highlights last night because they're playing the Rays down here in Tampa Bay, and I called the Phillies the Eagles. My bad. All right, so the Eagles, the defending NFC champs, they are starting off the season on the road at New England, then at home against Minnesota, down here in Tampa Bay on September 25th, then in Washington. Then they got a 2-week road trip to LA to face the Rams. Then they're taking on the Jets, at home against Miami, on the road against Washington, at home against Dallas on Sunday, November 5th, followed by a bye week. Then, woof, how is this for 2 games? You get Dallas on November 5th. 2 weeks later on the 20th, you get the defending Super Bowl champs. We get a Super Bowl rematch here, the Chiefs and Eagles in Arrowhead. Then at home against Buffalo, at home against San Francisco, on the road against Dallas, Seattle, at home against the Giants, at home against the Cards, and then finishing off the season at the Meadowlands, taking on the Giants on the road. Not an easy schedule by any stretch of the imagination for the defending NFC champions, but this is still a really stacked team, a really good team, and I have them, guys, at 11.5. So over under, let's start with you, Katie.
I think that is the perfect line from the Sean Sportsbook. Well
Pop
done.
his ego up. Boost it.
I have them at 12.5. I think 11.5 is perfect. The NFC East hasn't had a repeat champion since 2004, and I think this is the year it happens.
I wouldn't be shocked. I like the stats.
We're bringing the stats. I wouldn't be shocked to see them back in the Super Bowl. I think a lot of people feel the same way. Even with them losing both coordinators and several big-time starters in free agency, I'm just not worried about them. Howie Roseman is an absolute master in how he's filled it all out. Yeah, they've got a lot of new young guys, but they have so much depth that there's not necessarily a ton of pressure on everyone. We've talked about it before. I loved their draft. I just don't see a lot of true weaknesses on their team. Obviously, you don't know what can happen with injuries. And like you said, Sean, it is a tough schedule, but I see at least 12 wins.
They are so stacked, and I completely agree with you. Nick, what do you think?
All right. So I'm torn. And the reason I'm torn is it's really hard to get back. It's unless you're the Chiefs, and even the Chiefs have proven it's really difficult to get back to the Super Bowl, to get back to a place of such an elite stat. So many things have to go right. You have to stay healthy. everything's kind of has to break your way, right? You got to get a few lucky bounces here. You get your blowout wins, you get your dominant wins. Sometimes talent just prevails, but you got to get Brock Purdy's got to get hurt in the NFC title game so you can run away with it, for example. Like things like that have to happen. That's why these runs to the Super Bowl are so magical. But this team's built pretty well. They drafted really well. They got not one, but two good defensive tackles from Georgia. The best two to come out of Georgia in the last 2 years are both on this roster. You think that they're going to miss Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph? Probably not, because they got younger guys ready to rotate in and out of there as they do so often. Yeah, they had some losses on defense. They lost TJ Edwards. So what? They kept their secondary together. Darius Slay, James Bradbury, they're back. Yeah, they lost CJ Gardner-Johnson. They'll be all right with the guys they replaced him with as well. And most importantly, they got Jalen Hurts. They got A.J. Brown. They got Devontae Smith. They got Dallas Goedert. They got Jason Kelce to stave off retirement for another year. Most of this team is intact. I think 12 wins should be pretty easy to come by. It really should. This division's going to be tough. The Giants are supposed to be punchy. The Cowboys are going to be there. They're focusing on defense now. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I agree. I don't like to call a team stacked because it's hard to stack a team like you would in the NBA with the salary cap and the roster numbers and everything else. But 12 wins should be realistic. You just won the NFC. You got to go get the division title again. It's going to take 12 or more to get there. Give me the over, baby.
I was wondering when you were going to drop that hook on us because it seemed like you were going down one path and then you just pulled the old rope-a-dope and went down the other, Nick. I appreciate that.
Took us on a journey.
I once again agree with you. Set the line at 11.5. I've got them at 13. I still think this is an incredibly good team. They showed that last year. I said, you know what? The Eagles, they had kind of an easier schedule last year, but still playing in that division, it was always going to be tough. And I said, I can still see them coming away with maybe the best record in the NFC, maybe the number one overall seed. I don't think they are the number one overall seed in the NFC, but I can still see them doing that. And they did, and then they march all the way to the Super Bowl. I think they showed us who they really were last year, and I think they're going to do it again this year. So I got them at 13 wins, and I'm going to take the over.
Do you know what that's going to take if you really look at that schedule, though? They have to...
It's tough.
They have to
let me be clear.
Their first month, they have to run through their first month. They got to go.
I think they're going to be undefeated heading into that November 5th game at home against Dallas. They will be 7-0 when they welcome Dallas to Philadelphia.
And that
game will be bonkers.
Say you split Dallas and you lose in December 10th, week 14.
You
have to
run
Dallas. Off that last month. You have to win all those games. Seattle, New York, Arizona, New York. At New York, week 18. You got to do that to get to that number, but it is very possible.
I still think they do it. All right. So
we have some people chiming in before we move on to the next one. We have, Club Fancy FFL says Eagles have the toughest schedule in the league this year. Not happy about it. They're feeling good though. I mean, when you come off of a Super Bowl appearance in a game you almost won, they're feeling pretty good. He has them at 11-6. That's fair, I think, right?
Okay, that's fair. I don't think any Eagles fan really is saying, man. Well, I mean, clearly I'm being proven wrong here, but. No one's saying, hey.
Tony, who is a Cowboys fan.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
That's important context.
You know what? Let's just forget what I was about to say. Let's move on to Dallas. Everyone's favorite team to root against.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys, who tried to ruin my boss's live shot last year during the playoff game because I guess their jean jorts were riding too high. I don't know what it was. Anyway, the Cowboys start off on the road at the Meadowlands against the Giants. Then, they might as well stay there, but, why not? They come home to play the Jets. That's an interesting start to the season. On the road at Arizona, at home against New England, then on the road at San Fran and the Chargers. Bye week in the 7th week of the season. Then they go... right back to playing an LA team and the Rams at home, though, this time, October 29th. Then there's that game on the road at Philadelphia, November 5th, at home against the Giants, on the road at Carolina, at home against Washington, at home against Seattle, at home against Philadelphia. That's going to be an interesting 3 weeks for the Cowboys. And then you're finishing off the season on the road at Buffalo, on the road at Miami, at home against Detroit, and on the road at Washington. Nick, you said it was a tough final month for the Eagles. It's not going to be an easy final month and a half for the Cowboys either. I have them, though, regardless, 10.5.
Okay.
1, 2. Go ahead, Katie.
And you can see Nick is thinking. Katie?
Yeah, I have them at 11 and 6. So 10.5, we're still pretty bang on with the Sean Sportsbook. Like every other season, I think a lot of it is going to depend on the health of Dak Prescott. They got by quite well with Cooper Rush, better than I expected. Their offense just looks different with Dak. I'm aware of the interceptions. I'm not too concerned about it. Like most people, I'm really curious to see what it's going to look like with Mike McCarthy as a play caller. He happens to be one of my favorite people in the sport, so I'm cheering for him in a really big way.
Oh, this is interesting. Let's open this can of worms. Keep going, Katie.
About what? Mike McCarthy?
Yes.
So my mentor, Laura Oakman, they are very, very dear friends. So he's been a really good mentor for us. And he's given me a lot of his time and all of us women in Galvanize. Like, he's someone that is just, I just think he's a really wonderful person. And when I had met him in a professional setting, I'm like, oh my God, I've talked so much shit about you publicly. But then you meet someone and you're like, oh no, I love you now.
I know. That happens.
Mike, do you know how much shit I've talked about you?
Actually, this is topical.
And we get a comment from Club Fantasy FFL. Mike McCarthy will find a way to sink this team once he takes over play calling, LOL. I just don't think it'll be that bad. I don't think it'll be that much of a drop-off with it. But back to the Cowboys, I love the addition of Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore. I think their roster looks really complete, but I don't need to tell Cowboys fans that they have a tendency to kind of get in their own way. And the schedule isn't necessarily helping them with that either. Like,
they have a tendency to. Sorry.
You good?
Chuck, do you need the Heimlich, Sean? I think he's choking.
Sorry, I was just imitating the Cowboys in the playoffs every year.
That made me so uncomfortable to watch.
You thought he actually was choking, didn't you?
I did. And then I put it together halfway, and I'm like, do we need to call a medic?
That is
it's called.
Right there.
It was really graphic.
That is shtick. Madden chimes in, says Cowboys going to stink it up per usual. Then when the Cowboys fan in here says Tony Pollard's going to run for 1,300.
I'm a fan of Tony Pollard, but I think that's a little rich for my liking.
Club Fantasy FFL enjoying Sean's choking. That was a little too guttural for me. Kind of
really
like
graphic.
If I like had a gag reaction to somebody else throwing up or gagging, that might have elicited we don't need a disclaimer on this show.
We found out today that I did
over the top, where I'm just like holding my throat going because I mean, that's too on the money. It's too literal. I need to add some, you guys thought I was actually choking.
Welcome to the Actors Workshop with Sean Barry. Today we're going to tackle method acting and really diving into your role. This episode brought to you by Whitman's Biscuits. All right.
Katie had the over. Nick, what do you got?
What was the line?
10.5.
I had over.
I'm gonna go over with 11. I mean, we're going to get to these totals where it's going to be really hard to actually get to these totals. Like, the Giants and Commanders are going to have to take the brunt of these two teams. Although the Giants did get to the playoffs last year, despite the Cowboys and Eagles both winning double-digit games. But I don't think they got any worse. I think they got better offensively. They brought in somebody else alongside CeeDee Lamb, who's actually worth a damn, in Brandon Cooks. Yeah. And Tony Pollard is the guy now. Zeke, it was a nice little 1-2, but Zeke was kind of weighing him down, like literally. Like, he was slow and kind of heavy. So, and I know he's still out there. Maybe he does come back at a lower rate. Even then, I don't care. That doesn't hinge. My take on this does not, depend on Zeke. Their offensive line is pretty deep because they, like they have for many years, dealt with a number of things. Tyler Smith played really well. They were able to mix and match some different guys in there. They did a good job with that, even getting guys like Jason Peters involved. So, they're strong, and I think defensively they're strong, and they've said that this year they're focusing on defense. And the biggest thing to me, though, Katie, and the reason I brought up Mike McCarthy earlier is he's been on the hot seat since he showed up. Since Sean Payton became available, he's been on the hot seat, whether he deserves it or not. They had a sleepover, and that's what led to him partially getting the job. He did obviously put a lot of effort into getting the job, preparing himself the entire year he was out of football to return. And he's done a good job, but he's had some insulation with coordinators. Dan Quinn's done a great job. Almost got a head coaching job and decided to pull his name out and wanted to come back to the Cowboys. Kellen Moore was really good at offensive coordinator. And then all of a sudden they didn't see eye to eye anymore, which I thought was strange because they were pretty productive offensively.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they were like, nah, he's on his way. And Mike takes over. Well, now that hot seat is actually legitimate. And it's unfair, but the expectations are high. That divisional round hurdle is as big as Mount Everest in Dallas. I mean, few people have gotten to the summit, and the Cowboys haven't gotten over it in 20 some years. Okay. It is the albatross around their neck. It is the monkey on Steve Young's back, as he once famously said when he won a Super Bowl without Joe Montana. And I think that this is the year where he has to prove himself. If it goes bad, it could be significant change. As crazy as that sounds, because Sean Payton's no longer available. But this is Jerry Jones we're talking about. An older Jerry Jones, a little more tame Jerry Jones, but still Jerry Jones. So it's going to be fascinating to see how is he going to handle the opportunity that he gave himself by getting rid of his offensive coordinator. Is he going to live up to the expectation, or is, as it kind of was in Green Bay, his offensive approach a little outdated? That is where the Cowboys season is determined, in my opinion. What does Mike McCarthy do as a play caller? Because we already know he struggles with clock management. I hate to say it because I know, he's a great mentor and source for you, not source, but a source of help or guidance for you, Katie. But it's true. He has not managed the clock well. He's notorious for it. And you add in play calling, it's another responsibility. I just wonder what it'll look like. Not saying he's going to fail, but a lot is on the line this year, and it's more than just about winning a Super Bowl. And so with all of that said, I think they're over, but they're over by the skin of their teeth, and they'll be in the running.
I am also going over. We're making this a really boring podcast because we're agreeing on everything. I've got the over on them because I think this division race will go down to the last couple of weeks. So I'll take the over on them as well. And we should have a fun time watching them and the Eagles duke it out for the NFC East title. Moving on to the Giants. Guys, I've got the Giants at 7.5.
Ooh. Any Giants fans in the chat right now? If you are in here,
yell at Sean.
The G-Man.
You have a reason to make fun of Sean.
Here's the Giants schedule real quick. If my screen wants to unfreeze, there we go. This is live. Starting off at home against Dallas, then on the road at Arizona, on the road to San Francisco, at home against Seattle, on the road at Miami and Buffalo, at home against Washington and the Jets, on the road against Las Vegas, and then the Cowboys, and then Washington again, and then at home against New England. They've got a Week 13 bye week. Yikes. And then they are at home against Green Bay, on the road against New Orleans and Philly, and then finishing off the year with 2 home games against the Rams and the Eagles. You look at the schedule, it is tough, but I do think that you might be able to find 8 wins in here. Katie, what say you?
I'm going to hit the over. Nick called me an optimist last week, and I didn't realize I was going to be that optimistic in that division because their schedule is so tough. I have 9 and 8.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Like the Brian Daboll experience has been so much fun, and they totally exceeded, I think, all of our expectations last year. Daniel Jones finally has a bit more to work with in terms of receivers, and I'm just excited to see it, like adding Darren Waller, Paris Campbell, who I think can still perform at a high level. I think Jalen Hyatt could do really well in that system. And they've got a really great young defense. Their schedule is just so tough. Like 3 primetime games in the first month and 7 of their first 11 games on the road is a really tough scene. Like, luckily the NFC is so wide open that who knows what can happen, but the schedule for them is just rough.
Big B chiming in saying Danny Dimes going to shock the world. Probably more so than Jordan Love, right, Big B?
I hope he does. Like, that would be so fun if Danny Dimes comes out and has a huge season. Could happen.
Shots fired. Shots fired
across
Sean.
The bow. All right, Katie's taking the over. Nick, I have a feeling you're going to take the over too.
What was it at?
7.5. I feel like I set it too low because I do see 8 wins there.
I think
a bad team.
8.5 is probably easier to make this an easier over/under choice.
But I'm not switching it. Too late. That ship's already sailed.
The Sean Berry Sportsbook has integrity. Okay, they don't take
easy
bets
money
on
on
NFL
this players,
and they have integrity.
Oh,
You know, Katie's drinking the Kool-Aid. She's drinking the Brian Daboll Kool-Aid. You know, everything went well in New York last year. Daniel Jones played so well that he got himself a nice hefty contract. And frankly, I am not a believer. And the reason is everything had to go well for them to go 9-7-1. They won some games by the skin of their teeth. They got the shocking win over the overrated Vikings in the playoffs and promptly fell on their face in Philadelphia, as most everyone expected, because even at their best, they were still kind of pretenders. Daniel Jones threw for 3,205 yards last year, 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, and got a huge contract. Why? Because the Giants were a little bit desperate. It's cheaper to sign him. It's cheaper to sign him in the short term than it is to try to work out a deal with Saquon Barkley, who is a better football player overall, but has a worse track record in terms of health. So they went with the route of keeping Daniel Jones on a $40 million a year contract without much evidence other than a playoff win to back it up. The Giants hit their peak last year. Now, did they get a little bit better in the offseason? Yes. Did they outperform expectations last year? Yes, because they were cap strapped. Dave Gettleman left them in a terrible situation, especially on the defensive side, so much that they just had to get rid of James Bradberry, say, sorry, we can't afford you. Enjoy chasing a Super Bowl with our rival. I just don't believe that all of that is going to go right again for them. Saquon could have another great year on the franchise tag if he plays. He still might hold out or hold in as they do now because you can't necessarily hold out anymore. I just don't believe. I think that if the Giants or if the Cowboys and the Eagles are going to play well, one of these teams has to falter. I don't really believe in Washington either, but something about the Giants last year, they were fun to watch, but there were games where they played the Commanders late in the season. And I was like, it's kind of tough to tell who was the better team here. I just don't think they're going to be that team this year.
You know how last week when we were breaking down the NFC North with Carmen, we said, the Vikings won so many one-score games last year that were they really as good as their record indicated? And the answer was kind of no. We saw that happen.
Yeah. A resounding no.
That's kind of what I'm seeing from the Giants now. And I completely agree with you, Nick, because a lot went right for them last year. And we're not used to a lot going right for this team. Whether it's injuries, it's poor quarterback play. We're not used to the puzzle pieces coming together for the New York Giants. So for that to happen 2 years in a row, I mean, you only see Haley's Comet once every 70 years. So I think the Giants, I'm going to take the under as well because I see 8 wins, but also 7-10 isn't far out of the realm of possibility either, which still wouldn't be a terrible season, but I'm going to take the under as well.
Club Fantasy FFL chimes in and is right on the same page as Sean, at least on one half of that record. He said, I think the Giants can finish anywhere from 7-10 to 10-7. If Waller ends up being their wide receiver 1, Jones should be serviceable. If my tight end's my wide receiver 1, we have problems.
We have problems. Love Darren Waller. But again, unless his name is Travis Kelce or Rob Gronkowski, that shouldn't be happening.
I think they pulled the most out of Daniel Jones last year. I thought they were wrong in signing him, but it was a point where they were kind of between a rock and a hard place. And I just don't have any expectations for him. I'm not a believer. And, they could prove me wrong and maybe I'll get on board then. But like all the good mojo and Brian Daboll's done a hell of a job coaching. He did. But there's only so much coaching you can do to really elevate a team. I just don't feel it. Now, I do think their defense is going to be interesting and could keep some low-scoring games, and maybe they do win more games. But I'm not going to attach any of my reputation or anything to them right now. I'm just not in that division. It's just too tough.
All right, our final team. Let's not even really waste our breath on this one too much because this is the team that...
Sean, we have a good topic on this, though. It's got a lot of traction.
We have a good topic? Okay.
Yeah, baby.
It's the Washington football team Commanders, the commies of DC. They start off their season at home against Arizona, then on the road at Denver, at home against Buffalo, on the road against Philly, home against Chicago, road against Atlanta, road against the Giants, home against Philly, road against New England and Seattle, at home against the Giants, on the road against Dallas, at home against Miami. Week 14 bye week. Just make them play the whole season at that point. What the hell? December 17th on the road at the Rams, on the road then on Christmas Eve against the Giants. And then they finish out their season with a couple of home games against the Niners and the Cowboys. I've got them over under 5.5. Discuss.
Oh, that's lower than I thought.
Yeah, me too. That's disrespectful.
I'm banging the over on that one. Not super confidently and not by a lot. I have 7 and 10.
Yeah. Looking at this schedule, I mean, they can beat Chicago, Atlanta.
The Sam Howell experience is getting you up in the morning.
Careful phrasing. I think that I think that realistically, the over at 7 wins is not insane, but it does come down to quarterback. And I don't think the Sam Howell thing is as concrete as everybody thinks. Like, yeah, Ron Rivera said he's going to start his QB1. He's already said that he could lose that job. It's not entrenched. You signed Jacoby Brissett for a reason, and that reason is probably to compete and win the starting job. Now, Jacoby did a good job with the Browns last year, but they were more talented. It's a tough situation for Ron because he's on the hot seat, whether he likes it or not. Chase Young's in a contract year. He's got to prove that he's worth, any type of money because he's been hurt for
they might be offloading him at some point before the season.
It sounds like they might. Yeah. So there's a lot of moving parts here that I'm just not very confident in. And to put your stock into a guy who had one good game in his one game he played as a rookie, I'm not buying it, guys. I'm just not. I know it's great to talk about in the offseason, but I'm not buying it. They're last place. They win 6 or 7 games. I'll take the slight over just because that's so low. And that's that. And they're probably getting a new coach and a new quarterback.
If everything goes right for them, I could see there's a world in which they win 10 games. I don't think they will. Everything would have to fall right, which very rarely does in the NFL. I think they're set up to run the ball pretty well. Their defense really started to put it together, especially in the second half of last season. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see Eric Bieniemy with this offense. Like, they have players. It's not necessarily the sexiest roster when you look at it, but they also don't have a ton of holes. My hesitation is Sam Howell doesn't excite me that much. He's largely unproven, but like you said, Nick, I love that they have Jacoby Brissett in the building. I wish they would have made a bigger splash at quarterback because I think then you look at that team in a different light. But like I was looking at their depth chart this morning and it's not as bad as I thought.
No,
it's just not super exciting.
They have good receivers. Like Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. I think he's going to have a great second year in the NFL.
Their run game too.
Yeah, they have talent. It's just they don't have the quarterback. And in this league, you have to have the quarterback. And Eric Bieniemy is going to get a prove it year right away. Can you maximize either of these quarterbacks? Yes. I mean, if you can, you win 7 or 8 games. Everything's got to go right to win 10 games. And that's why I'm just like, no, it's just not there. And we get a chime in before Sean gives his input here. Club Fantasy FFL again says the Commanders do have a damn good defense and the offense has some playmakers. It's all on Sam Howell to show up if he wins the job. Like, it's not guaranteed.
Could be Jake Brisket, baby.
Buckle up. Slice me off a piece of that Jake Brisket. All right, Sean.
Let me say this into the mic clearly. Check 1, 2. I'm taking the under. I've got no faith in the Commanders. I think this is the last year for Ron Rivera. I don't think Sam Howell is it, and I don't see 6 wins. I'm taking the under. Prove it to me, Washington.
Love it. Firmly taking the under.
Clipped and shared on Twitter. All right, that wraps up the NFC East preview. Do we want to do a little division finish here in order? Like, who do we see winning the division, 2nd, 3rd, 4th?
I mean, I think we're all in agreement. I think this one's probably the easiest one we've done so far.
Of all the divisions.
Yeah, Eagles win it. Cowboys finish in 2nd. Those are both playoff teams. Giants behind, maybe fighting for a wild card spot, possibly. And then the Commanders in last place. I think we're all in agreement on that, right?
That's what I had.
Okay. And this is another good question posed here by Chris. It is the NFC East this year's AFC West? Yes, but with lower expectations because last year it was like, who's going to win the dogfight of the AFC West? And then 2 teams made it out. I think 2 teams make it out again, and it's not as much of a dogfight as we anticipate. So yes, it is in a different way than most people might take that at face value.
Yeah.
Or did they mean is this the year where the NFC East is so highly touted but then falls flat?
Yes, I think that's what we're saying, but I think it comes
I don't think it's that highly touted.
Exactly,
though.
That's the point.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Not from what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are, but still.
The Eagles and the Cowboys, absolutely.
Yes, the Eagles and the Cowboys, but no one's expecting like the Giants to shock the world or anything like that. You don't have a good top, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, where's the holes in this division? No, it's just the Eagles and Cowboys pretty much.
Well, and especially with
maybe
quarterbacks,
the plucky Giants.
Especially with quarterbacks with the AFC West, when you're looking at it going like, yeah, Derek Carr is the worst quarterback in this division. This is a lot different where you're going Daniel Jones and then Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett. Like, I just find even the quarterback conversation is so different than the AFC West.
Yep, exactly. And that's the biggest issue there. All right, time for the final segment of the day. It is Hate It or Love It. Katie, why don't you lead us off?
With what do I hate?
Of course.
Guys, I hate slow walkers.
You live in a resort town in Canada. How many people can there possibly be like walking in front of you?
Enough that I am bringing it up on this podcast.
Clearly.
Hell yeah. Slow walkers, close talkers, they all suck.
Just all of it. But man, like, there hasn't been one notable case, but there's been enough lately where I remember walking behind like twice in one day thinking, this is it for the next podcast. This is what I'm bringing up. And I think, so I've been reflecting on it, why it angers me so deeply into my soul. I'm a very short person, and like, since I can remember, I've had to walk really fast to just keep up with people beside me that have way longer legs. So I'm a very fast walker, and I get made fun of for it all the time. Like, people call me a mall walker.
So what you're saying is you're never late for a flight?
Never. No, that I am
she
quite
makes
often.
Visual confirmation with her gait, then goes to the bar.
Yeah, exactly. Sean, get out of my mind. But that's if I have a layover somewhere. If I'm arriving at the airport, I'm just notoriously bad at time management, so that's why I'm often running late for flights. It was my 2023 New Year's resolution to not be late for everything. So I've been working on it. But yeah, I'm a very naturally fast walker, and I just get infuriated with everyone else.
Chris agrees, and he says, and in inconvenient spots. After the checkout, before the receipt checker in Costco is not the place to lollygag, folks.
Oh, I'll tell you what, man. Yeah. Amen to that.
We can all agree.
We're all on board. Yeah,
slow walkers. Speed it up, people.
Let's go. Get a move on. We all have places to be. This isn't the 1940s where we're all left with our mouths agape, our jaws on the floor because some woman in tennis wore lace panties under her skirt.
The year is 1940.
Put down the Look magazine and get it moving.
You know what, Katie? I'm going to stick with the walking theme for my hate because every night my girlfriend and I, we walk our dog, and I hate ignorant dog walkers. And what I mean by that is,
good one.
You're walking your dog along. Our dog is not friendly towards other dogs. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. He's a big sweetheart. He's just very hyper reactive around other dogs. So we try and avoid any kind of brush-in with other dogs whatsoever. But what I hate is we can always judge, like, okay, that person with that dog is walking the opposite direction, so we'll walk that way. But then that person decides to just about face and do a 180 for no reason whatsoever. Something in their mind was just like, you know what? I'm going to turn around and walk directly at you with my 3 huskies. That's a great idea. Why do people do that in the first place anyway? Like, that's a strange dog. Why do you want your dog to interact with this strange dog? It's like stranger danger, folks. We were taught this when we were kids. But I don't like when people just about face, do a 180, and like you can't tell where they're walking as I'm trying to avoid walking in their general direction with my dog. It's a personal problem, I know, but it's just something that's been eating at me lately.
The audacity.
Also, put your dogs on leaches, folks. Come on. Like this, we live next to a busy street.
Yes.
It's insane that people still do that.
Pick up after them, you lunatics.
That's who. Good dog etiquette. I hate when people don't have good dog walking etiquette.
Yeah, you dog owners. I understand. My hate, I don't understand. I don't have a dog. I love dogs though. My hate is when the water company will not respond to your attempts to ask them how much you owe for the water bill.
Don't they want to take your money?
They never sent you a statement in the mail. And now I wake up every day in pure fear that today is the day they turn off my water for an unpaid bill that I never received. It's been weeks. My water's still on, but for how long? Nobody knows. Truly. Right now,
the delivery of this.
My water could be off tomorrow morning when I have to go get Bridget from the airport in the morning. My water could be off tomorrow night.
Nick,
2
just make sure it's back on by the time I come visit next week.
I'm almost out of water in this bottle. I might not have any more to fill it up. Who knows?
You know that can
Answer the damn phone.
Right?
Yeah, I was going to say bottled water.
Yeah, that requires effort. I'm willing to make the effort to pay
hanging out next week without me?
This is news to me.
What the hell?
I've literally told you this for like the last couple of weeks, last couple of months, that I will be in town on the 14th.
You know, Sean, you timed it up perfectly because I'm off work next week. So that's great.
Clear your schedule Friday night.
I can't log in online, Chris. He says in a comment here, because I don't have my damn account number because they never gave it to me.
Yes,
that's the problem.
It's either that or I'm getting free water, one of the two, whatever. All right, Katie, what's your love?
I still can't believe you guys are hanging out without me.
I mean, you're welcome to come here.
Yes.
Come on down.
Okay, I'll see you guys soon.
Got your passport.
My love is I'm heading to Montreal for a cheeky little trip in a few weeks.
Ooh.
Yeah, I haven't taken a trip that wasn't for work in like years. So my best friend and her husband and I are going for laughs. And we're going to eat a bunch of poutine and a bunch of bagels. And bagels. And I love Montreal. I've been there twice and it was such a tease because it was only for one night. And it was like, quick, go out and party, go to only one or two places. Like it's only going to be for 3 nights, but it's still like long enough that I feel like my best friend and I have been talking about this trip for like 10 years.
Oh, yeah, you know what they say about Montreal? 2 days is perfect. 3 days is just too much.
All right, Vegas.
Yeah, this isn't Las Vegas.
That sounds awesome. I've always wanted to go to Montreal.
It's gorgeous. And the food is amazing. And the nightlife is great. Everything about it is wonderful, but I'll report back on the pod. The parts that I'm allowed to share publicly.
Oh, hell yeah.
Ooh,
we get all the nitty-gritty
How's your French?
off the pod.
Can you speak French?
Je parle un petit peu de français.
Whoa!
So, un petit peu, okay.
I'm learning Spanish right now, so we don't want to go too far because I'll start speaking Spanish.
I love lamp.
Do you really love the lamp? Thank you. All right, I guess I don't have a love. My love is I'm going to see Nick next week, so that's awesome.
Yay!
He just found out about it.
What a surprise!
I love that Nick found that out live. I love that.
I know.
I'm changing.
I was wondering. I was like, he remembers, right? Nope, he doesn't remember. That's Nick though for you.
Yeah.
No.
A lot of things going on over here. Well, I love that I get to see you next week, Sean, and I also
We're both
love
copping out here at this point.
Adapting on the fly, people.
I also love that Bridget's coming home tomorrow because she's been gone for a week. That's all I got for loves. I don't know. I did not prepare entirely. I usually make a note of my phone, but I can't recall in the last 5 days in which I stopped and was like, I love this. So it'll be good to see you, Sean. It's been a while. How long has it been? It's been some time.
It has been some time. Geez, when was the last time we hung out?
I don't think it was Miami, but I don't know.
It might have been.
Wait, you said you're in town on the 14th?
Yeah.
Oh boy, we got to hang out that night because I got bad news for you, buddy. I'm going out of town the next day.
That's fine. That was the night I was told. That was the night. That's Friday, right? Yes.
Is the 14th a Friday? Uh-oh.
Yes.
When are you getting in on that Friday? We can do this on the podcast.
I'm getting it on Thursday. But yes.
Do you want to share your flight details with the listeners?
Sean will be taking United Flight
Frontier
1764.
flights number. Yes, I'm poor.
I love this
one of the more
podcast.
expensive options. All right,
all
this has been episode 8 of the Gridiron Podcast. Thanks for staying up late with us, even though you're probably not listening to it when it's late, but it's 1 a.m. for us. So Nick's got to get busy editing and posting. This has been episode 8, like I said, for Katie and Nick. I'm Sean Barry, and as always, keep life in the fast lane.
That was kind of what you usually say, but we'll go with that.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
One quick note. Hey, if you want to pull out your
No,
phone
that
right
was the
now,
end of it.
No, let Katie
Again.
speak. This is important.
If you want to pull out your phone right now, open your Spotify app or whichever app you listen to your podcasts on. Give us a little 5-star. Good karma will be coming your way.
This is what is called a call to action. Uncle Sam wants you for U.S. Army. Happy 4th of July, everybody. We'll see you next time.